everyone. Welcome to another Akashic Angels. I'm at a new time, so you can get me Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Today, I am going to be joined by a very special guest, one of my amazing friends, who is Melissa. She is an intuitive psychic medium, and today we're going to talk to you about spiritual self-care. So, Melissa, are you here? There she is.
Having me.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I'm really
So what I
excited
love about Melissa is Melissa's probably one of the most intuitive psychics that I know, and she is phenomenal and amazing. She practices a lot with shamanic practitioner, and she's a multi-dimensional healer. So we wanted to talk to you today was kind of about spiritual self-care. And Melissa, when you hear the term spiritual self-care, what do you think of?
Well, I think it means taking care of, that spirit that's within each one of us. It's so easy for us to take care of other people, but we neglect our own spirit a lot. And I think it's really important to get back to basics and knowing what your spirit is, what it needs, and how to nurture and comfort it in the same way that you do for others.
And do you feel that as a spiritual practitioner that we probably have a hard time with spiritual self-care, such as boundaries, for example?
Of course we do. We have a hard time with our own boundaries. We're good at helping other people with theirs because we want to help. Whether there's so many professions that I feel are suffering a little bit of helping burnout, whether it's spiritual burnout, healthcare burnout. That's why it's really important to recognize the signs of when you are feeling spiritually unwell. So your emotional aspect, not just your physical aspect.
And what do you feel are some symptoms of kind of hitting that wall? I mean, you bring up a very valid point of, a lot of industries right now are kind of hitting this wall, I would say, of, where we have nothing left in the tank left to give. What do you feel are some symptoms of that? Or how would you feel when you know that you're reaching that point of I'm hitting the wall?
Tired, even when you've had enough sleep at night. I think that's one of the signs. Feeling grumpy, having less patience for others, but really having a lot less patience for yourself. The moment you start to hear negative self-talk, that's your spirit trying to get your attention. Your inside, because we don't pay attention to it. Some people call it inner child, your inner spirit, middle, whatever it is that you refer to it as, but that's crying out for help.
And what do you feel like is some of the negative self-talk that you might hear?
It can range from anything. Why am I doing this? I'm not good enough. Where do I fit? I mean, you can go through each one of the chakras and have, a negative feeling. It's really as soon as you start to feel out of alignment. Maybe it's you're craving food that's bad for you, or, there's a difference between food that's bad for you versus you just want maybe a donut or something to make you happy for the moment. 'Cause you do have to feed your happiness too. So,
I mean, you bring up a very valid point. I mean, you may intuitively feel like you're craving heavier foods, like grounding foods, trying to pull you back into the earth, trying to make you in alignment. So I think for somebody that's spiritual and making sure that you're tuning into what your body is saying is something that is very important. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I think, for those who are intuitive, as soon as you feel a little off, maybe your readings don't feel as strong as they are. I'm not saying that it never abandons you, but if you don't feel strength to it, it's time for you to take a time out. In the shamanic sense, when you work with a shamanic practitioner, they might just call you and say, I know we have an appointment, but today is not a good day.
Yeah. And also, you bring up a very good point about being a spiritual entrepreneur, so to say. So if you're, a Reiki master, you're doing energy healing, you're doing mediumship readings, whatever realm of the spiritual world that you're tapped into, you should feel comfortable enough to know that when you're not in alignment, you may need to do kind of a timeout, and you may have to reschedule some of your clients and be okay with, listen, I know that I'm not in alignment 100% and I'm not going to give you the best service today, and be comfortable enough to also, I feel like as spiritual people, to say no. Like, don't overbook yourself. Don't,
Right.
Somebody's calling you at 9 o'clock at night saying, I really need to get in. Be okay to say no. So, what are some ways that you have kind of tapped into that to say, okay, I'm going to honor myself and I'm going to honor my boundaries, especially kind of with spiritual self care? And what do you do to kind of combat that?
There's a lot of things that I do, working with my angels before a reading, after the reading, making sure I clear myself, staying hydrated enough. Those are kind of the short-term things to re-energize us. It's everything is with intention, of course, of what we're doing. Maybe it's a saltwater bath, but it's grounding. For me, last week, I needed a time off, and it was a week in the garden. So that's my happy place.
Yeah. If you want to know anything about gardening, Melissa is your lady. You want to know anything about beekeeping, Melissa is your lady. Anything to do with nature, I call Melissa, and she's like, you need to do this. And then I don't listen. Just kidding. Or maybe not. But let's talk about, like, somebody who's in something like customer service. Maybe they're not in the spiritual realm. What would you recommend to somebody, that's on the phones or something like that, and they like don't feel like their spirit is in alignment? What are some ways, like, maybe they don't work with the angels? So what do you feel are some ways that they can kind of pull themselves back in and kind of honor themselves and honor their system?
So it's really about whatever, works for the individual. So maybe it's breath work. Taking just a second to realize that the person on the phone that's being angry at you is not really angry at you. They're angry at their situation, at the world around them, and they are not energetically aligned in that moment.
Really
so really seeing yourself as a support for that. But it's also, I had a client earlier today. We were talking about being authentic in your own spirit. So I told her one of the ways I've become more authentic is not having a phone voice anymore. Like, you don't even realize you have a phone voice until you're working in customer service and your voice really changes. So, right? I think a lot of people have that when they answer the phone.
You do.
Completely
100% correct. You do. Yeah.
So don't be afraid of who you are, and having that, your voice is your voice, and sharing that no matter what avenue you're working with, who you're working with, mind your words, but using the vibration of your voice, being authentic of your own spirit, no matter where you are.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You bring up two really good points. One of them is we don't ever truly know what's going on in someone's life, like if we're in customer service or if we're in retail, or it doesn't even matter. You could be, oh my goodness, like my dad's an engineer. Like, you just don't know what somebody is going through at that moment, and they may lash out. Like, that might be their coping mechanism. So one of the things, and we go back to the 4 agreements, is don't take things personally. And I think that as human beings, that is something that's really hard to kind of get to, and to really understand that this isn't me, this is them. They're reflecting this onto me, and what am I going to reflect back to them? Am I going to reflect back negativity, or am I going to raise my vibration and send them love? I mean, is that something that you would recommend doing, that people would do if they're kind of like hit with this combative energy?
Yeah, you always want to send, love back for the person, but it's really kind of taking the emotion out of those things that would trigger your anger, your insecurities, anything that is of that low vibration feeling. It's not that you're not allowed to have those feelings. We all have them, but it's being in a place where you can recognize, hey, I'm getting angry. There's no point for getting angry right now. And just, again, whether it's breath work, saging yourself, maybe it's a crystal you carry, a picture of a loved one. You have a lot of people have pictures of family, friends on their desk. Take a minute to just reconnect with that image while you're dealing with whatever is happening, that's setting you into that lower vibration energy at that moment.
Yeah. And things that, myself and Melissa, we have both done to try to kind of combat this. And it's, we don't want to say it's burnout, but it is definitely a feeling of, that the tank is full. And, in making sure that you're in alignment and in service to all of our amazing clients, because we have amazing clients, but also like I want to go back to boundaries, and kind of knowing when to say no. Do you have a hard time with saying no at times, Melissa?
Of course I do. We always want to help people, but I have, in the last year been a lot more honest. If I'm not feeling well and I have a call later that night with somebody, I'll just ask them if we can reschedule, because I would be doing a disservice to that person if I didn't give them everything that I knew that I was capable of giving. We're healing messages. It's compassion that we're giving to other people to try to help them, and they deserve, the full strength, the full vibration of what we're able to bring through.
Yeah. And it's also, for anyone that's currently working, or it doesn't even matter, even if they're at home with their family and they're encountering kind of this, negative moment or this instant like, and I don't know why I'm today, but maybe that's the way my day felt to me, And so like when we're going through these days, there are things that you can do to kind of wash away the energy. So energy does get impacted onto your body, intentional or unintentional, and there are ways to kind of release it. You can physically wipe off your arms, wipe off that energy. I like to call on Archangel Michael. Melissa, what are some things that you like to do to kind of like clear away any energy that's no longer serving you and kind of maybe sending it back to whomever it belongs to?
I think the biggest thing is recognizing at first that this is not yours to carry. There are so many people who are empathic that they end up picking up on the feelings of other people and then don't understand why are they crying all of a sudden, or why are they angry when they were fine just a minute ago. So I think it's really knowing yourself to start that, this is not mine, and just kind of saying that. And then for some, it's physical activity. Maybe it's a kickboxing class just to get rid of, whatever you have going on. Maybe it's a walk with your dog, a hug from kids or from a loved one. It can be as simple as that, or you can get into saging yourself. Just drinking water with the intention that it clears away anything that doesn't serve you.
Yeah. Do you use any crystals that might clear away any energy that's no longer serving you? Like Melissa and I are both really big fans of shungite. We both actually have shungite pillows right now, because whenever we seem to get together, we lose internet. So we have shungite cubes, we have shungite pillows. Anything else that you will make crystal wise or tool wise that may, one, shield you, but two, may also, kind of filter away the energy that's no longer serving you? You mentioned sage and other things.
Yeah, I use selenite a lot for that. I have a selenite bowl, and I have the crystal. A lot of people wear crystal bracelets. So what I'll do every night before I go to bed is I take off my crystal bracelets, I put them in the selenite bowl. I have a little medallion of St. Michael in the bowl as well, with the intent that it's cleared, that it's charged, and it's there for me the next day in whatever capacity, that I need for that extra support to kind of get through. Because selenite never needs to be charged. It never needs to be cleared on its own. It's always cleansing. But yeah,
always cleansing. And another thing that you can do with selenite, for those that want to kind of go into, more physical practice with the selenite, is they can actually take the selenite sticks and surround you in a circle. And as Melissa said before, energy follows intention. So if you set the intention that the selenite is going to cleanse your energy and wash away anything that's no longer serving you, it's very good. Like, surround yourself in a circle of selenite. You can get the little sticks. You don't need big pieces, which selenite's also really inexpensive. It's an amazing crystal. that's super easy to find, super easy to get, very inexpensive, works wonders. And like I said, you can surround yourself in a circle with selenite and then just imagine the kind of like energy vortex coming up and washing away what's no longer serving you and then energizing you with divine light. That's one of the practices I like to do for sure with selenite.
It's really just using whatever tools that you have at your disposal. It doesn't have to be anything that's expensive. Prayer for those who believe in prayer or utilize prayer, that's a really strong,
Yeah.
it's clearing yourself. Affirmations, words of intention, giving yourself encouragement for what you're going through, giving yourself understanding for whatever it is that you're trying to deal with. I think those are two things that we don't do enough for ourselves, is to give ourselves understanding for what we're going through and how we're trying to process it. We're doing the best that we can with the information that we have at the time that we are in it.
Yeah. And also, with that being said, is that also giving yourself space to allow certain emotions to come through you, like, and let things kind of work their way out of you, so to say. So if you feel sad, don't shove it in, don't hold it in, like allow it to go and allow it to release. One of the things Melissa said earlier today was that it's a self-care is important, but you need to kind of get into the root cause of the issue. And not taking a salt bath may not clear away everything that's no longer serving you. And there are maybe perhaps like some deep-seated beliefs, inner beliefs, unconscious, conscious loops. I'm going off on a tangent now. But I mean, you got to kind of look at what's within and, why am I having this response to something that for you may not seem like a big deal, but to me, I might have this knee-jerk response of like, why did she do that to me? And like you said before, you need to look at, go within. Your spirit is trying to tell you something, whether it's your inner child, it could be a past life component. It could just be your higher self. Melissa, do you feel like people kind of need to sometimes go within and kind of dig to see what's really activating them in that moment?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing about spiritual self-care is that everyone wants an easy fix. That's kind of the society that we're in. And you can only do so many easy fixes before you just break down. So it's really identifying what do you like? Who are you? What makes you happy? What are you passionate about? And you have to do that in a void of other people's expectations, opinions. What do you think? People will say, and really know within yourself of what makes you happy, what makes you tick, what makes you you. And I think that's the hardest part of spiritual self-care, that most people don't take enough time, to really sit with. Who are you? What brings you joy?
Yeah, no, that's so true, because as humans, we look for fixes outside of ourselves. So I might, call someone up and say, hey, what do you think about this? When really what I need to do is I need to tune within, see what's going on, and then perhaps either, write out some journal work on it, do a meditation on it, do some breath work on it, use, set an intention and maybe do something with a candle. Like, it's definitely like, I feel like we have this instant gratification. And like you said, like people, especially, let's say they're going through a spiritual awakening. And I feel like a lot of people right now are definitely awakening, and they're having all of these increased sensations and moments and vibes coming into them. And it's like, what's going on here? When really they might just need to tune in and say, what's happening here? What would you say to somebody who is kind of going through a spiritual awakening, and how would they utilize spiritual self-care in that moment?
I would say congratulations is not as pretty as things portray. It's actually a lot of tough work to get through your awakening, but it's well worth it once you have kind of walk the steps of the process. So, that's a little bit different, because that requires a lot of kind of the self-care that we talked about already. Washing my hands with salt water. I'll do that after I do readings for people. And it's not just washing it away, those feelings or that emotions. it's really to transmute it into the clear. We don't want to take anger and just kind of throw it out into the ethers for somebody else to pick up. It's really, let's transmute this into either to the clear or to love or to something that's positive. So you're not kind of leaving your baggage hanging out there for somebody else to feel.
And for those that don't necessarily know what transmuting something, what exactly does that mean for you when you transmute something from darkness into, like you said, clear or into a higher vibration?
So to me, transmutation is to take something that is of one kind and completely change it into its opposite. So where there was hate, there would be love. Where there was sadness, there would be joy. So it's just changing it into something that's a lot more positive.
Yeah, and aligned for your soul. Something that's aligned for your higher self and something that's aligned for, a more empowering spiritual awakening for sure. So I have to ask Melissa, and I want to see, she'll probably say yes to this. Okay, so you feel a lot of the angels are coming in now, don't you?
I do, yeah. They have been.
So I really feel like
channeling.
I'm like, I know Melissa's got to say something, but I feel like there's a lot of angels here right now, and especially Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, and they're coming forward for all of us to kind of say, you can also call on us when you're looking at, if you feel like your well is getting dry from spiritual self-care, call on them and they'll infuse you with loving energy. I feel so much energy is coming through like the root chakra right now. Melissa, what are you feeling?
Well, Archangel Jophiel, she's really strong. She has a lot to do with beauty and to grace,
Yes.
And hers is really just about self-care and, the spiritual awakening, but it's finding the beauty in everything, no matter what it is that you're going through. Because if you focus on the blessings and the gratefulness of heart for the experience that you're having, you get through the lesson, and then joy and really anything that you want is on the other side of that.
She's also saying to look at the beauty within and to really a lot of self-care comes to loving yourself and loving the beautiful divine being that you are. And she's saying to honor the divine within and to really it's hard when we're so visually stimulated and we have so many different, things that are coming at us all the time. And to look within, sometimes you might not want to. Do you feel like she's also telling you to kind of look within and to really honor the beauty within yourself?
That's where it starts. If you can't see the beauty within, you're never going to see the beauty that's on the outside, or it's going to be such a twisted view that it's one that instead of appreciating or really complimenting somebody like, hey, I like your shoes, you're saying that because you really like them, not because like, oh, I want those. Like I should be able to, but I can never afford those. So, it's people do that, or they'll compliment on something because they want it, but really to be able to give those compliments or to give those messages of beauty is to find that beauty within yourself.
You bring up a very valid point again. Also, being in an attitude of gratitude is going to shift away and raise your vibration. And it's also going to help your spiritual abilities. Like if you're really looking to manifest things, open up your psychic senses, one of the first steps is really having an attitude of gratitude and really kind of shifting away. Because if you're down in anger and, ignorance and whatnot, your spiritual awakening is going to take a lot longer. What do you think, Melissa?
I do, and I think it's really hard right now. Look at the economy and everything that we're struggling with. Anytime I find a penny on the ground or a dime, nickel, whatever, I just thank them for prosperity. I thank them for abundance and just have faith, that if I keep following the path that's before me, that I won't have to worry as much about the things that I'm afraid of. It's moving away from fear as we share in that gratitude.
Melissa, I just want to say thank you so, so, so much for coming on here today You are just a wealth of knowledge. I would love to have you on again. I just, oh, you're amazing. Um, if I will make sure to link how you can connect with Melissa when we post up the video. Melissa, anything, because we're going to have about just a couple of seconds left. So anything you want to impart on the viewers before we end this awesome call today?
Just really find the joy within yourself. Take, your homework is to sit down and write 10 things that you love about yourself and 10 things that you're passionate about. So when you kind of lose your way, you get down, you have something to go back and to focus on to find yourself again.
I love that. Once again, thank you so much, Melissa, for coming on here today. I look forward to seeing everybody again next Wednesday. And I hope everybody has a great night, and we will talk with you soon. Have fun.